everybody, if you are looking for a game call that is elk, turkey, deer, predator calls, waterfowl calls, we highly recommend PhillipsGameCalls.com. Professional grade game calls made for every hunter.
Welcome back to the Ridgeline Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Phelps Game Calls, with your hosts, David Crane and David Sandana.
Man, it's been a minute.
It has. I'm back in the saddle.
Back in the kill cave.
That's a good change.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. It's been a while since we've been here in the kill cave, to be honest. Last couple podcasts were out of my house. You've been working your butt off, which is a good thing.
Well, it could
business is booming.
It's booming, yeah. Business is always to the eye of the beholder, you know. So the boom section, it's up and down. You know, it's just always hustling no matter what. But
yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like more than it is. Life is crazy too, you know. So I had a lot of things going on, just normal day to day with work and, you know, doing all the stuff I do professionally. And then we had a flood in the house. So
yeah,
that's been about 3.5 weeks now. And so we had some water issues, and that takes a while. And so the house is pretty much inside the cave. This is probably like the nicest part of the house, even though it's like the worst part of the house all the other times. Just because everything's so torn apart. You know, drywall just got finished. Texture was yesterday. Tomorrow, painter comes, and, you know, then we're going to repaint almost everything inside.
So Dave is pretty much getting like a full remodel of the downstairs of his house. And part of the upstairs.
Every single bedroom in the house.
Go ahead, man.
Am I too loud?
No, I'm too loud.
Every single bedroom in the house, the master bathroom, all the tile work, and, you know, we're talking it's probably 400 feet of tile coming out and getting redone. So it's quite a bit. It hasn't been very enjoyable. You know, every day is kind of like Groundhog Day. You wake up to the same wood floors, but they're like OSB subfloor. So you're in a new construction area. It's pretty rough, but I'm glad I'm back. We have some new things that we've also been out doing some things. So we have some new things to talk about. And this next weekend, starting tomorrow, you're taking off.
Yeah, that's right. It will be weekend number 2 of turkey hunting. Dave and I actually just got back from turkey hunt this past weekend. And what was the dates on that? April 20th. That weekend. Yeah. we were out turkey hunting, and we had a great time. None of us filled a tag, but we definitely had some opportunities. Just, it seemed like the area that we were in, the toms were very, very timid. They really didn't want to come into any calls, really.
They were responsive, but they weren't committing. You know, they were interested, but they weren't ready to go up there yet. And last year when we actually started on this weekend, the second weekend.
Yeah.
And it was a 2 hours, I think, maximum time from.
And that's still eating breakfast and having coffee, and then finally going and
hiking the hill, and yeah.
In total that day was like 2 hours.
We learned some interesting things about the way the turkey sounds, like where we think the sound's coming from versus where it's actually coming from. That was interesting.
Yeah. Dave caught on quite a bit quicker than I did. Only because he was constantly looking at his maps, and I was just kind of like going off of, I know I've been to this area, but I didn't really understand. I didn't look at the maps to understand like the curvatures of the hills that we were on to where the sound was bouncing off of different areas. So I was kind of like, I think it came from here, and Dave's like, no, man, it came from over there, and we're trying to like navigate like where this thing is.
I literally was like, I'll bet you everything that thing was right behind us. a couple times. There's just weird the way the sound echoes and ricochets off the next hill over. It's really odd depending on where you're sitting in how we were only like 10, 15 feet apart, and where he's sitting and where I'm sitting get two totally, I guess I'll call it octaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough to change the perspective on our next maneuver to where we were almost like going to go separate ways. I was like, no, that sucker is right here. Because I literally heard him go, so, okay, I'm going to back up because this is important.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you take a road cone and you take a road cone, this is a good.
No, it's a good.
This is really good. So if you take a road cone and you just laid it on its side, the base is square and then it has like a tube that goes down this way and it's kind of an angle. Well, that angle is the same type of ridge we're hunting. It goes down to a point to the like the public access road, and then it drops off to the right to a valley where no one can really get into, and then off to the other side, and there's another hill that goes up. So it's kind of like this weird shape. And then on the other side of the cone, there's this other hill. I still don't know where that hill's at. I think that's where we're camping. But when you're on the hill, you can clearly see that there's a hill there. But when you're on that spot, you're like, this is totally flat.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it like there's a hill right there until we were on almost the end of the cone looking back. And I was like, the turkey is on our slope right behind us. But when it gobbles, it bounces off that and comes back to us. So we're like, oh, that turkey's on the other hill. But
it was maybe 60 yards at max. Because all of a sudden,
it didn't travel through the brush.
Well, that was like the other time of when where it was coming back. So even before that time, when the hen came up, we didn't even think the tom was. We thought the tom was further than it really was.
The first couple gobbles, I thought that tom is probably a ways off.
Mm-hmm. We kind of thought it was like, so if you're looking at the cone, so we basically hunt this ridge and we go from the top to the bottom all day long, and then
kind of like shoelace it too, kind of back. Yeah,
kind of back and forth to try to get these toms to go, and we'll dive down in if we have to.
Which I hate doing, by the way.
Dave does not like that. I will do it, but Dave's like, oh, I'm going to stay.
Well, I do it. I just like I could really.
It's the hike out that sucks.
That's
because sometimes you get over to one end and it's just like straight up a mountain, or you have to backtrack 1.5 miles and go towards the smaller part of the cone, but you're still going up and over. It doesn't really matter. You're going up and over something.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
My problem is when you get to the bottom, it's kind of shitty for me. Just because I don't like the terrain down there. It's very brushy.
Yeah, there's a lot thick.
It's not like it's not like on the hill where there's a lot of openings and little trees. It's very nice on the slope. When you get to the bottom, it's like it's almost like when they cleared it or something. They just went in there with a bunch of army tanks and just played war and just demolished the shit out of it. So
yeah, there's no underbrush. Like you can see forever when you're up on some parts of the ridge. Sometimes you can kind of see what the bottom look like. You just look into this area, it's super thick. Well, that's what the bottom looks like. But you only have them in like certain sections of this ridge where it's just super thick, and you're like, well, not going through that.
Yeah, I feel like it would maybe. I don't know if turkeys are as limited in their maneuverability as other animals, but it seems like they would maneuver around some of that stuff more than when we're on the slope and we call. They usually can come like straight. Down below, they'd have to do some maneuvering to get.
They do, because a couple years back, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can actually go scroll back, and there's a video of my son and I hunting, and we hunted that bottom spot, and we hunted a thick area that was kind of in between some open spots, but there were some thick spots, and you can see them. They have like their own like little trail that they'll come through. They start snaking in, and all of a sudden, boop, they're like right in front of you. Like, oh, dang. Yeah. So they have spots where they can kind of sneak through, but most of the time you want to get to the bottom and you want to find a nice open area, and there's a few of them. Yeah. You just have to know where they're at, and I kind of know where they're at, but you have to go either down to the bottom where there's like a cut through road, because it kind of like splits. So like at the very bottom, if it's maybe 300 yards like width maybe, and then it's private property. So there's a cut through road like across the front part of the person's
like back pasture
fence area. Yeah. So if you can get down to that road, you can kind of like cut through and then find like, ooh, there's a nice open spot. I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to call all day long.
Yeah, that backside is nice.
Yeah, but it's at the bottom of the hill. So you can either going out, go back where you came from, or you're going straight up and over, which is
you don't want to go up from that.
It's super steep.
You don't want to go up from the backside.
It's gnarly. I've done it more than a few times.
He comes back to camp with his arms hanging by his side. I'm never doing it.
And I'll be right back there in the morning.
At the bottom of that sucker.
But yeah, that day was, so day one, Saturday, whatever day that was, the 20th or 21st, whatever that was. We get in there. Friday night, we go into camp. We don't get our spot.
Oh, geez. Yeah, we slept in the truck on Friday night.
And just, kind of dating ourselves. I mean, we're in our 40s and sleeping in the truck sucks. Just, I did not sleep.
I actually got a nice little, I felt like I found my zone. I had like this weird hip twist and my foot was like tucked back like where the heater would be. And I look over and Dave has his feet like on the dash because I had considered doing that. And I was like, my legs will fall asleep. I won't be able to get undone,
And that happened. Yeah. I think I got a full 45 minutes of sleep because I just kept on moving all night long trying to find the spot. And I was like, it's too cold. I'd roll down the window, I want to stick my feet out. That wasn't happening. Trying to like stretch my legs out and I'm hitting the pedals and everything. Or, the steering wheel I had up, but it's like still not up out of the way.
Not enough. Yeah. The driver's side probably way worse than the passenger side.
Oh, dude.
I actually had a pretty good thing going there.
So I had my feet up high, right? Yeah, everything fell asleep. Like my balls were sleeping, buttholes all tingly. It was the weirdest feeling ever. It was bad. It was just all bad.
Sorry, folks. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not PG with this podcast. If you're looking for something like that,
it's turkey talk. Turkey talk.
But yeah, so I didn't. I felt actually. I woke up and I felt great. It's just I knew I didn't really get any sleep, but it didn't matter. It was the first day of turkey season for us. And we were after it. I mean, right when we got up, we were going.
Yep, straight up the hill, the long side.
Yeah,
that's the least enjoyable side for me.
And if you were to take an actual road cone, so you know how like the bottom is square, so that's kind of like where we started. We just went whoop whoop, and then started onto the actual ridge.
Yeah, it's nice going down the slope. When you go down and then
it's a nice grade. You can see down both sides.
And I feel like I got the drop on them. I feel like I got the drop on them when I'm already on the top.
Yes.
Because they're going up there. But
yeah, so the turkeys kind of go up and over depending on where the roost is, pretty much.
I feel like the turkeys where we're at don't roost in a tree. After this weekend, I feel like they don't really roost in a tall tree. I feel like they're roosting in those bottom short trees, like close to the ground. They're not. Because all the turkeys that I saw this weekend, they were in that bottom section, and they always are coming up the cone from the short side.
Yeah.
So I thought they were in that little thicket.
That weekend, yes, but I've seen them roost in like larger trees, like
big ones.
Yeah. So Kirk and I, and Jack, we roosted some birds late at night. Basically, we just watched these birds roost. So we're like, all right, marked it. Boom, we're going to hunt 100 yards off of this roost tree. Perfect. We get in there, it's dark 30. Kirk does not sleep in when it's turkey season. Actually, let's just rewind that back. This dude does not sleep during any type of season when it's hunting time. So you are up at dark 30, and you are pounding feet to get wherever you need to go right before the sun comes up, which is cool, man. It works. And that's how he rolls. So we get to where we want to be for the roost tree, and they actually just fly right over the top of us. Dang. B-52s right over the top of us, man. It's a loud bird when they're flying over you. It's a big bird. So I've seen them roost in larger trees, but I think for what we were running into, I do think they were towards the bottom and more in like a brushier tree. And to be honest with you, I don't even think these birds were roosting with a lot of birds. Yeah. So usually you'll see them with like a flock from anywhere from 10 to 40 in one tree. For the most part, we were seeing birds 2 by 2. And that was it. 2 by 2, 2 by 2, 2 by 2. We didn't really see a whole. Well, we saw one group.
Well, it's a bunch
on
of
a
jays,
farm.
bunch of jays, yeah. But we didn't see like multiple hens with any toms. We didn't see any sort of group resembling what we were looking for, other than the fact that we were looking for a bird to come in.
Yeah,
you know, we had, but so the day one we got up there. Of course, they're gobbling in the morning. We get up to the top. We hear some gobbles like off on the deep side, probably coming from private land. But later on in the trip, when we would separate for a little bit, I could hear you calling, but then I'd hear it was like you're barely calling, but I knew you weren't just barely calling. So as you moved away, I was like, now I can't even hear what he's calling. So I came to like this conclusion that the gobbles we're hearing were probably closer than we thought they were. And at one point we had,
and I'm glad that you figured that out kind of early, because that was kind of like 10:30, 11.
Yeah,
because that's when we kind of like we only go about maybe 100 yards from each other at some given point during the hunt. And Dave came back and he was like, "Dude, you weren't very far, and I could barely hear you." Like,
I don't think a turkey can hear better than me, dude. That'd be odd.
Well, when we kind of figured that out, it's like, oh, okay, well, if we're having a problem with these octaves bouncing off, and this isn't the first time that we've hunted here, but we always try to like come out of a hunt learning something, right? Mm-hmm. So we learned this one within a few hours of being there. It's like, dude, these birds are not as far as we think they are. Basically, just like any other animal that uses like vocals to talk, like an elk, they can just turn around.
You could tell when they would turn their head.
Yeah, and you know, if a bugle goes, you'll hear it. Even if you're glassing it, they can just turn their head and it's not as loud as it would be, right? So same thing with the turkeys, except for, you know,
they're close to the ground and there's brush in the way. Right.
So there's a little bit of different tones and basically octaves coming from this little bird and trying to spot these things. So when we try to figure that out, we're like, okay, well, maybe they're, you know, in between, you know, anywhere from like 60 to 40 yards or 80 and 60 yards, you know, something in there when we really don't think they're 300 yards down this ridge. They could just be bouncing the sound off of, you know, some of these ridges kind of like did this weird move like this. So the bird could be here and we're kind of back here, but it's bouncing off a whole bunch of different things before it even gets to us. So we were trying to circle navigate where these things are, and it really started working.
Yeah,
and it worked early.
And we started getting on them good.
Yeah.
At one point, we had 4 or 5 different toms bugling. Or sorry,
he was doing that though.
They're gobbling. At one point, I couldn't remember what to call a male turkey. It's like, it's over here, the thing.
It was pretty funny.
I couldn't even think about it. I was like, I don't know. I was just so confused. But you know, they're gobbling. We had 2 down below, and then one. I posted a little video of one gobbling really close, and you snapped your head. You're like, "Oh!" And it was like over here through the brush.
Well, yeah, it was fairly close.
It sounded like he was under 60 yards from us, but just the brush was probably mid-thigh high. So
yeah.
You know, mid-thigh high and super thick, like steel wool thick, like just like all
yeah.
wound together. Nothing's coming through.
It was like, I mean, for us, we can go through it. So we're used to Western Washington, you know, like when the blackberry bushes are 7 feet tall and there's really no way of getting through there. Like if we wanted to, we can get through it, but just like any other animal, when you're hunting it, you don't want to go through that kind of crap. So
yeah.
And we really didn't think that they were going to come through there either.
And I didn't think they were coming through that. Yeah, and they went around. The one tom that came up above, I heard him like gobble gobble, gobble gobble, gobble gobble, just like going up the ridge, and I was like, that little sucker's like literally right above us. So I actually turned around on the other side of this tree, and was looking for him to come down the slope,
which is on that video. So if you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or even on YouTube, I put it on a YouTube short as well. At the end of that video, when I snapped my head, Dave's like, I'm going to spin around this tree real quick. I was pointed down the hill, and we kind of figured that they were starting to go up, but we still heard more gobbles coming from down below. So I stayed down below Dave spun around the tree, and we're just waiting for these birds, and we really thought we had them dialed. And
yeah, I thought it was just a couple of minutes we're gonna have a turkey down.
Yeah, and
but
then
just
we
kept cruising.
Well, I would say fast forward, but I want to fast forward to that. But they gave us the cold turkey.
Literally,
like they just went. It was done.
Yeah,
it was done.
And we figured that's where that term came from. At that point, I was like,
yeah,
that's what that cold turkey means. Some sucker had a hot turkey out there gobbling his head off and just quit. And he's like, the turkey went cold or something. It had to come from there.
So like he was probably telling his buddies or something a story, and then that's how that phrase came about. I mean, we could probably Google it, but that's what I'm thinking. What happened, and we both kind of came up with that. It was like that was at the end of the day, Sunday, because we'll get there. But after
we had them cornered. Let's put it that way.
We actually did.
Yeah.
But so that was pretty much everything that happened on Saturday, really, because we ended up going up towards those turkeys, trying to find them, trying to figure them out, and they just gave us the slip.
Yeah, they slipped out of there. It's crazy that it happened that fast, because I don't feel did anything to make them alerted. There wasn't anything that we did that really alerted them. And then also, we have a video where we were trying to move in on this turkey that was over and down a little ridge. We were just trying to get more towards the edge on the same slope that he was gobbling from. And when we got there, all of a sudden this hen pops up, and there's all these boulders, like these rocks that are on top of this little slope. And we just knelt down and got like towards a rock type shape. And this hen literally walked to our left, maybe about 10 feet from us, did her little put, did some calling. And it sounded just like how we were calling. I was like, okay, so our calling's good. It sounds just like the hen. I didn't notice any difference between hearing the calling we were doing and what she was doing, except for the putt sound. That putt they do is, I don't think anybody can really copy it unless you had a mouth read. But there's
guys out there that can do it, but I'm not that good at turkey calling. I'm good enough to call in some toms.
Did you do the putt with a pot call, you think? I don't think you can do the pot call.
I don't think I could, but there's probably videos of someone doing it.
Maybe I'd love to learn that call.
Cam might be able to, because Cam last year, that dude was doing some crazy stuff on that.
With a mouth read, though.
Yeah.
The mouth read, I have no doubt that someone could do it.
Yeah.
But the pot call,
I was just using regular, I was using a Phelps pot call pretty much the whole trip.
Yeah.
And
we haven't been, let down there, because, we've literally had turkeys responding and coming in and moving around the whole time. I'm kind of jealous that you're going tomorrow, because I think you guys are going to waylay them.
Yeah, man, I wish you could be coming out with this, but gotta pay those bills, man. Gotta pay those bills.
Contracted project starting tomorrow, man.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll be able to come out on Friday night, though.
Yeah, if I can get out Friday, I'll be heading down.
Jump in the Red Bomber, and camp will be ready for you. I'm bringing the heater buddy this time.
Yeah. Don't forget that thing. Jeez.
Yeah. But yeah, Thursday, we're heading out, man. Bringing a podcast listener, actually. So we met actually, I've known this gentleman for a long time. I've actually known him since like the late 90s, like 98, 97. So like the beginning of my high school was around that time. And we ran into each other. I haven't seen him since like maybe 2001 or 2002. Like, it's been a long time. But he ran into us at the Sportsman Show in Puyallup. And, man, we talked for about 30 minutes. And then we've been talking almost every day since. He's a long-range shooter, which I want to get a lot better with my rifles at long ranges. He said that he's going to help me out with that. And we've just been talking back and forth, and he's never really turkey hunted before. He's never shot a turkey here in Washington. And I was like, you know what, man? I'll take you out. I'll get you at least an opportunity. I don't know if we're going to shoot one, but we can try.
It's probably going to be the best trip ever, dude.
So, yeah, he's super excited, like overexcited. He's hitting me up like every 10 minutes for like the past like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm no doubt.
And he's excited. I'm excited. But yeah, we're we're hoping to have a really good trip. If anything, just someone else to teach the craft of turkey hunting. I mean, it's a whole new thing. I mean, one of our last podcasts together was some waterfowl hunting, which I've never done.
Oh yeah.
So like getting all into all these different things, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's something new. So for him, it's gonna be something new.
The waterfowl. I don't want to go on that tangent, but I've been waterfowl hunting for a couple years, and I love it, man.
Couple?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't know how long it's been. 12 years, maybe. Not as long as.
Well, I've known you. Shoot. Well, we've known each other since high school, but we really started like been attached at the hip since we're 30.
Yeah.
So 13 years.
Yeah.
So you were doing it before that.
I think because I had my boat. I used to waterfowl hunt in my boat. I bought that in 2005. So it's probably like 2007 or something when I started. Just started field hunting 2 years ago. So I never did field hunts. I always hunted over water.
Over water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the field hunts is new. Surprisingly, to me, like I hadn't known that they were this productive. I would have just left the boat at home. It's like, damn, it's a lot more enjoyable. You don't have to net. Nothing wrong with hunting out of a boat, but trust me, dude.
Roll up to it.
Here's the shitty part about a boat is if they're not coming into your spread, and you're spreading, you're setting your decoys in 15 feet of water, 10 feet of water. A lot of times, you try to be shallower than that, but a lot of times it's like you go to a place where there's a launch, and you'll be the third or fourth person in line, and as soon as they hit the water, dude, they're heading to their spot. Mm-hmm. And that might be your spot. So by the time you get your boat in the water and you go to your spot, you're just ping-ponging around like, oh, shit, okay, well, let's go to spot B. Someone's there, oh, crap, let's go to spot C. You're going down these spots, and then finally you're just like, it's going to be light soon. We got to get these decoys out.
Yeah.
So that's the trouble with hunting water is that unless you have a private land or a blind that's designated and you're there early because on public land anybody can hop in your blind.
Oh, we've had that happen. So what was that back in?
And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's public property.
Yeah, it was back in 2012. Maybe we built like elaborate decoy or blind, and we floated it out there, and we get in there and we're doing all our stuff, and then we didn't realize that like there was another boat like 15 feet from us, and they were like. Remember those dudes? They're hella pissed. They're like shooting at us and stuff, like shooting over the top of us, and there's like no ducks anywhere, and we're like, "What the heck's going on?" Yeah, that was fun. That was my duck hunting experience. I was out there to film, so it was kind of like one of our first films that would have came out if we would have had something. But
that was our pioneer days. There was no TikTok. There was no.
It was all boogered up.
Yeah, there was no Facebook. Facebook didn't have reels or anything back then, and YouTube was not what it is today. Podcasting was really on the unheard of thing. Like if you're a podcaster, I think
Joe Rogan maybe, and then like maybe I don't even know if he was doing it yet.
No, I don't think. I don't know. I don't think so. It was just long enough ago. Like the last 14 years have been really incredible for technology and improvements and the way people communicate. How you can. Show the world what you're up to and share things with people on just a scale you never thought was possible. So it's been weird to see, but kind of like the whole dawning of the automobile and the aerospace era, and now we have like the social media era. So it's
what's crazy is that like we got to see all that stuff. So like our kids never knew that there were no such things as cell phones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they never had to like dial a phone, like the actual like dial a phone, not push buttons. But
I had a rotary phone in my bedroom, dude.
My grandparents had one, but I pretty much lived there, so I mean I used one all the time. So, but yeah,
I had a rotary phone until I had like a school fundraiser. And they had that clear phone with the cool lights and stuff in.
You got one of those? That's dope.
I was on it. I don't remember how many, thousands of dollars of cookies or wrapping paper I sold.
He was like, I'm getting this phone. Buy all the popcorn.
Dude, I don't think I got the phone from sales. I think that you had to buy points in the end if you were close. And I was poor, so it wasn't like I had to have been pretty damn close. Those points weren't cheap. It's like tickets at the arcade. You spend $100 to get 5 tickets. Yeah,
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was good. Well, let's take a break.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll talk about day 2. We'll talk about how the hunt ended.
Yeah, definitely.
We won't talk about how it fully ended because it's some things are better left unheard.
Let's just say there was slides involved. Shoes, flippity floppities. All right, taking a quick break. All right, everybody. Well,
we're back.
We're back from break.
Little quick one.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so leading into the end of Saturday, we had a bunch of toms going. Couldn't get them to commit, but we were optimistic for the next day. It's like, man, all it's going to take is just one bird. It's all it takes. And then all of a sudden you get on a string of them. So we head back to camp. We start making a fire. We made a fire out of wet wood.
It didn't look wet. It looked nice and dry. The people that had left the camp. So the first day we went to our spot. It was like probably midnight when we got there, 1 o'clock.
It was probably so. Every single turkey hunt, we only get the weekend warrior most of the time. So we're coming in super late after work.
Well, it's a long drive.
For us,
it's 5.5 hours or so.
Yeah, it's 5.5 hours, give or take. Could be longer, depending on traffic going over the pass. But we usually get in super late no matter what. But this one was like extra late because we roll in, we go to our spot, someone's in our spot. We're like, okay, crap. I was like, well, I know a different spot where my son and I usually go to. Let's go to that spot. We head over that way. Boom, there's someone in that spot. And we're just like, oh, son of a gun. Now where the heck do we go? So we're kind of like doing circles. And finally I was just like, dude, we're just going to block this road right here. Yeah, and it's really not like it's not a pull-through road. It's just like
it's an old skidder
road. Yeah.
It's grown over and stuff.
Yeah, it's all nice and grassy and stuff, so that's where we parked.
But it's where a lot of people like to hike up.
Yeah, but we were hiking there.
Yeah, literally we marked it. And so that morning when we woke up, there was people, like every time, because I was still kind of like in and out, but there's people pulling up there and they would turn around because they just like, crap, someone's here.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God we parked here. We wouldn't have a spot. So, the people that were in our spot, they left. And
they had an elaborate camp too. So like when we rolled in, there's 2 trucks that had like
all sorts of stuff set everywhere.
Yes. It was a big camp, looked like an oak camp. It was big. Yeah. And we was like, holy crap. But we
hiked up and over.
When we came back over, usually it goes into where we usually camp, but there's a road that kind of leads back up to where we parked. So we're just like, we're just going to walk by this camp, and just walk by and go to our truck. And all of a sudden we're just like,
they're gone.
Where the heck are these guys? Like, yes. So I was like, Dave, stay here. We're claiming this spot. I'm going to go get the truck. And that's what we did. Yeah. So we're actually able to like set up where we usually camp, which was really nice.
And they left this bundle of firewood there, little stack.
Yeah.
And they must have had, I don't know, a lot of fires in there, some really good ones because, they had like burned beer cans or soda cans in there, and some of them were still like intact a little bit, but you could tell they were melted.
Yeah.
So it got pretty hot. So that night, Saturday night, we got back to camp, and I was like, you know what, let's do a little fire. We never do a fire.
We never really do a fire. Actually, you know what? The last time you and I haven't been in camp when Burgess was there, which is kind of surreal. This is kind of like the first time that Burgess wasn't going to be at turkey camp.
Yeah.
He had passed away earlier
this year, or 23.
Yeah, at the end of 23, and yeah.
And the first time in our lives where he hasn't been able to turkey hunt either.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a moment that when someone passes like that, you have memories of them there, and we it would do our best to remember all the good times. He was a really good guy, and a really I will say a worse turkey hunter than a human being. because he was an excellent human. You know, he was someone that you can get along with, and you know, you meet him and you're instantly friends. You know, unless you're a complete asshole. You know,
yeah,
the guy would
this is an older gentleman too. I mean,
killed birds like nobody's business, though.
Yeah, and when we say he was a worse turkey hunter than he would be a human, the dude's a phenomenal turkey hunter. So that
and
just
that's a
goes
compliment.
to it goes to speak how good of a person David Burgess is or was, and you know, we were talking about him driving up there. He had this teeny little hen call that had this little push button thing on it, and he would just slay birds with that thing, and that's all he would use. He wouldn't use. He's beep beep beep, just smack them.
I have a video of him doing that in the tent. He's like, "You hear that? That brings me every time." I was like, "Get out of here!" He's like, "That's all I use."
Yeah, guy was just a phenomenal person, and Dave will miss you forever, man. So yeah,
yep. And so we got back to the spot where we're like, let's do a fire. So we start with a fire. We're like, this is gonna be easy. You know, we're just gonna take this nice, dry, perfectly stacked wood they left here for some unknown reason. Put a little bit, and Dave goes, "Oh, check this out! I got a whole pack of these little wax fire starter things," and he breaks it out, throws it down there. Thing starts up perfectly. Flames are going. Next thing you know, no flames are going.
Yeah, we're like, you know, getting some stuff together for dinner and everything. And we just kind of like turn and we're like, what the heck's going on here? It's gone. So yeah, it took a little while. We enjoyed. I think it took us like
20 minutes or
20 minutes, and we enjoyed the fire for about 10.
Yeah. But we had to prove that we could still make it. You know, even though
we did. The
wood was struggling, and by the end of our efforts, I was like, no wonder they left this wood. This piece of shit wood. Stuff doesn't start for nothing. It looks dry as heck, man. It looks like it's, you know, you'd have a nice hot fire.
Yeah.
But it was nice just to get that going. And so we had the fire, then we turned in. That night, you know, we're standing outside the tent, and I saw the clouds, and I was like, man, these things are looking... They were just rolling in fast. It didn't seem like...
We had all blue sky, which you all will see. There will be a video coming out shortly of our turkey hunt, but obviously we're not going to shoot anything. But you'll be able to see how beautiful the sky was. I mean, it was just blue sky the whole day. And then that night, it was pretty much...
At 7 p.m. about. It was like
before the sun really started going down, all of a sudden you just look up, and it was just nothing but clouds, and they are coming in quick, too. They're boogieing. And we're just like, oh, crap. And then when we finally turn in for the night, I don't sleep very well anyway, so I was like, well, let's watch a movie. So we started watching a movie. Dave passes out, and then I'm only like 10 or 15 minutes into this movie, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go to sleep. I don't know when the storm started, but... all of a sudden, it sounded like the drum band.
It's like 2:18 in the morning.
The drum band was on top of our tent. Just
it was like drumline with every single person beating on the top of the tent.
Yeah.
You know? And I had literally had a dream that there was a flash flood coming down the hillside. And I was like, we ain't going to make it. You know, I thought this is enough rain to where I don't know if the tent's going to be okay. Like, I figured we're going to be wet. I thought that's the end of our hunt. We're just going to pack up our shit when it stops raining and go home. So it wasn't going to be enough. You know, I wasn't going to hunt in that type of weather.
Yeah. So we had the same idea. Obviously, I'm thinking he's asleep. He's awake. And he probably thinks I'm asleep and I'm awake. And I was thinking the same thing. Like, I'm thinking like, okay, well, if this rain keeps up. So it wasn't only just the rain. It was the wind, too. So the wind is just straight whipping.
Yeah, it was going good, too.
And you can just hear the wind coming through, and it's just blasting with rain, and we're just like, I don't think this is going to be a good time to turkey hunt. I've hunted in the rain before, and the birds, they're nowhere to be seen. They pretty much just melt into the ground.
If it was light rain,
oh yeah, that's a different story. But this was a monsoon rain type stuff that came in. So I'm just like, whatever. Go to sleep. Wake up.
Clear as a bell.
Yeah, beautiful. Everything's wet. Frozen as heck too, like it was cold.
Ice on the back of the tonneau cover. It was like there's a little puddle of water that was completely froze solid.
Yeah, it was a very cold morning. But you know what? It was a clear day, and we had some turkeys to kill. So
We still have turkeys to kill, Dave.
yeah, we never
Sons of guns.
Yeah, we never got that done. So basically, we did the same thing. So we go up to our spot. Well, before we go up to our spot, we kind of go back to where Dave shot his bird last year. So we're kind of just moseying through that area just to see if we can get something sparked up. So as we're moving, I'm hitting the call and just seeing what we can get going. Nothing really happens. We get up to the top, and then
I think it was like 10 something in the morning. So we were doing this. We were on like a 2-hour journey already.
Yeah. And we start working the ridge again. We start going kind of shoelacing back and forth. And then finally we start getting some birds again.
And they were all over.
We kind of figured we need to go like 15 to 20 yards off the top of the ridge. And then all of a sudden it just starts clicking off. Mm-hmm. We had, I don't know, 5 birds in one spot.
Yeah.
They're calling from all over the place, and we're just like, all right, cool. We're going to just be patient. We're going to call these things in, start moving slow, call, and just really just kind of try to isolate one bird. Well, we isolated 2 birds. And we started working in on these 2 birds. And we're kind of limited on time because we do have to drive home. And it's Sunday. We have work the next day. So we have to get home in a decent time, and so we're kind of limited on time. It's a 5.5 hour drive. So, I mean, do the math. Got to get up early on Monday for work. So we're limited on time. So we isolate these 2 toms that we know are just firing off on all cylinders.
They were going, yeah.
So we came up from camp, down from camp, away from camp, back up to the top, worked the ridge back up, and came back down towards camp.
Yeah,
where these 2 birds were firing off on all cylinders. It was crazy.
And we kind of rode the ridge up. We were trying to get above them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if that worked, obviously it didn't work to our advantage, but it did. I don't think it hurt us either. But these 2 toms I could hear them, gobbling like crazy. Halfway, like almost when we started to kind of go down a little bit, that one came from above. There was one that was close to us on the up above.
Yeah, it was on our left, and it was like parallel to where we were, and it sounded super close. But I'm not sure what got it to fire off because it only went off once, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we heard it, we pretty much stopped using our eyes, looking around and all that other stuff, and we actually like sat and called for a while.
He wasn't interested in coming in.
No, there was nothing else. And I mean, we were close enough to where even if it would have been going somewhere, we probably should have seen it.
Well, he heard us call for sure. There's no doubt about that.
It was close. It was super close. This was, within 40 at least. It's just where we were.
It was a pretty good thicket there.
Not too. It was thick, but not too bad.
It was where the trees started. It's where the trees started, and then it was.
Yeah, they start coming in. Easy. Yeah, they start coming in maybe like 2 feet apart. But it's kind of hard to explain. But if you guys actually end up watching the film that we put out, you'll be able to see because there'll be some scenes where you can kind of see that. So I'm not sure if I got that one calling, but yeah. But you'll be able to see some of the kind of like the thickness of the trees aren't very big, maybe like 3.5 inch, 4 inch trees around, but they're like 2 feet apart. So you can walk through them pretty easy, but it does get fairly thick. But you should have saw, if it was close enough, we should have seen it. So it was probably we figured out that these birds were already on a mission, and we weren't in the right spot at the right time to kind of like.
They were cruising pretty good.
Cut them off. Because there was that weekend, you weren't calling them in, at least where we were. Obviously, people were out there shooting birds all over the place, but where we were, you had to cut that bird off and probably really be like in the right position to get a shot.
Even the ones that we saw that were coming in that were close, they had like a to B. They were going A to B.
Yeah,
they weren't trying to like.
They weren't like,
let's go
that sounds like a fired up hen. Let's go check that out. There was none of that.
Yeah, they weren't investigating or anything. The only thing we had to investigate was.
right, everybody, we are back. We had a little technical glitch, but we are back now. And where were we?
The hen.
Oh, yeah. So this, it seemed like the toms were actually had like little ponds, like they're playing games with us, like, oh, hey, go check out what's going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we would start to hear these hens before we would even see a tom. And just by chance, this hen comes in, which I did get a film of. I was using a new camera, and not like a big Canon camera. I'm trying to get away from using the big Canon cameras only because you have to have like a designated cameraman, and we're not at that point yet. We don't have a designated cameraman, so we rely on GoPros, and Dave has a GoPro 360. I just got a Insta 360, which is, the 360 cameras are insane. I mean, you've been running the GoPro one for a while, and we've gotten some really crazy film with it, and this hunt with this one is crazy. It really does work really well, and we were able to capture this hen with my like over the head camera, which was really cool. You haven't been able to. We're gonna look at some of the film after this. I brought I have an external hard drive.
The funny thing about that camera is he had it on this. He has a really cool like case mount for it.
Yeah,
it's almost like a skeleton that Sigourney Weaver wore in Aliens. Like your camera's in like, I'm gonna kick ass. It's like up there, and I see it's like 2 feet above your head, but you also had your shotgun like on that same arm. So every time I looked at you for like 2 days, I thought you had a suppressor on your shotgun. I was like,
that would be super funny,
dude. Like the whole time, I was like, what the shit? And then I was like, dang, and it just kept tripping me off. Then I started thinking you had like a walkie-talkie, like it was like a military walkie-talkie antenna with a freaking big old.
Gotta call in comms,
I was
man.
like,
Call in the
like
strike.
my radio man's over there. Yeah, it was funny. Every time I looked at you, I thought something different, and I was like, I gotta stop thinking about this. But it just looked
super funny.
It
though.
looked so much like that every time I looked over, I was like.
So now we all just got to get one, just because it looks funny.
You got to get a badass backpack with like a radio antenna, and you're out there and you see somebody else. You're like, hey man, we got a special mission we're running here. You got to get out of here. They're like, oh shit, they think you're like SEAL Team 6 or something. Come running through the woods.
Yeah, right. And Kuyu and marsupial bags.
Man, that's called clandestine. You got to blend in with your environment. Look like a hunter.
Oh, that's funny.
So that hen, that was a good experience, and I can't wait to see that video because I wanted to see it like that night.
Yeah,
but in 360, you have to translate the video from the orb. I guess I'll call it an orb because when you look at it, you're like, it looks like you're looking through a fishbowl, and then you can rotate it and look at it, but you can't see it clearly until you make it flat.
So this one's different. So it has a whole bunch of different modes that you can actually put it in. So it has like 360 where it's actually just using the two of them mushed together, but it's not globed. There's an actual like different
a panoramic view,
kinda.
Okay.
Except for you can look up and down and all around, but it's just kind of a little bit wide angle.
Mm-hmm.
But then they do have the globe one where it's like just like a weird globe where it looks like you're on a planet.
Well, that's when you zoomed out. So all of them will do that zoom in and zoom out. Like if you zoom in, you can see and you can pan through the orb, but you're still inside that ball.
Oh,
if you zoom out, it makes the ball here and it looks like you're on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how 360s work. But that vision you get when it's in that circular mode isn't clear until you what do they call it when you take the video and you render the video into something you're going to watch, and then it turns the definition up higher. Then you can really see what's going on.
Yeah, it was
like a low quality mode basically when you're looking at it on your
phone. On your phone and through the device. So my device actually has like a 2.5 by 2 inch screen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking at it, like the sound doesn't match, like nothing works. Like, you can have a picture, everything's good until you try to like play it back. Like that's like the one thing about this camera, but they just came out with a new one. So I have the Insta 360 X3, and they just came out with the X4. Mm-hmm. Like while we're turkey hunting, which is great. I mean, it's an awesome camera, but I mean, mine right now does 5.7 4K. Like TVs aren't even up there yet. The new one's 8K. It's just like more clarity, more color, more this, more that. And I'm just like, mine's still good for a couple of years. So we're going to use this, see how it works. I really got it for archery hunting just because everything's up closer. I don't need a cameraman. Like, that could be my cameraman. Everything's fairly close.
And you can screw that bad boy onto the end of your stabilizer, dude.
You can do a lot of things with it, which is cool. My main thing is you don't need a cameraman because I'm usually hunting by myself, archery hunting. So
and it looks cool when you draw back.
But yeah, so we got the hen on camera, and right after that, I actually shut the camera off. Dave kind of goes off the hill one side, and I'm actually still going straight. And what do I run into? The Tom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Big sucker. And I'm like waving Dave down. I'm like, dude, Tom's right over here. And he's like, yeah, that hen just took off down that way. And I was like, oh, they probably met up. And then we whip out the binos, and she actually didn't really run from us.
Yeah.
She just ran back to the Tom, and they're, out of shotgun range. They're out of shotgun range, but they didn't go running off. They just kind of just walked off.
What's weird to me is when we're creeping along, and those turkeys, we could clearly see them. Like when we were seeing them, we clearly see them. And a lot of people will say, if you move around, it's not a good habit to be in turkey hunting moving because they do see very well. They have
it's a bird.
The best vision.
Yeah, it's a bird. They'll pick you out pretty quick.
But they weren't picking us out. Even in that video, when we just knelt down, basically, she walked right around us, and it wasn't. There was no alarm.
There was no alert.
Yeah.
There were no alarming calls.
I even watched her eat a little lizard.
Yeah, he said he just slurped down a lizard. It's like, whoa.
She literally walked by, and she does this little thing, and she just boop, ate the lizard. And I watched it just bloop. I was like, shit, I didn't know they ate those things, but whatever's creeping around, they're going to eat. Yeah,
so, when Dave said that, he was like, dude, it slurped it down like a seagull. I was like,
like
whoa.
a seagull. Yeah, exactly like a seagull. When a seagull gets a fish, dude just tilts its head up and straight down. I couldn't believe it.
That's funny to me.
Yeah, it was
super funny.
It reminded me of that. I thought of that movie with the little lizard, the crazy lizard. There was like a crazy lizard Disney movie, Rango. Rango.
Yeah, Rango's funny. I love that movie. But the last two toms that we had, man, we had them going for a long time, and then all of a sudden we hit this flat area close to camp, and really that's when they gave us the cold turkey.
They did
and it was like,
yeah, and they were down on the slope. I don't know what they did, but they just stopped making any sort of contact with us. And we thought, that's it. It was probably 11:45-ish about in the morning.
Something like that, yeah.
So we just went back to camp, gathered up all our stuff, and I put my slides on, took my boots off, put my slides on for the ride home. And as we were driving out, we saw them both cross the road right in front of us. And that's where we're going to stop the story.
So with that, though, where we actually were just like, hey, man, all right, let's just head back to camp. 60 yards away from probably where these birds actually held up at, but they could have just laid down underneath the bush, and you're not really going to see them.
Yeah.
So we packed up camp, and on both sides of the road where they actually came out from is public land where they went, and yeah, we're just like, well, there they go. What else are you going to do? And they were good toms too.
Yeah, that one had a freaking beard down to the ground almost. Oh shit! Geez, next weekend. So you're going to be getting them tomorrow, man. I have a feeling Friday is going to be the day.
Hopefully, man. I know we're going to be rolling into camp super late. Hopefully, Eric can get some sleep, and we'll be hitting it Friday morning. Friday morning we'll be hitting it, and then hopefully you can come into camp Friday night, and all three of us will be going after it, dude. And I've been in camp with 7 guys, and all 7 guys have gotten birds out of there. So
it's
not a spot where we're limited on turkeys. So it's
and there's a lot of land too.
Yeah, there's a lot of birds out there, and there's also other little spots, secret squirrel spots that we have kind of out in that area too, where we can get some birds. Yeah, and we're trying to find some more on the way home, but
Yeah,
all we found is some Fruit of the Looms full of poop.
I never saw that. But
It was.
I'll take your word for
That
it.
was gnarly.
Someone had an emergency on their hands, clearly. So, yeah, well, good luck. Hey, before we go, let's talk about these hats.
Yes. So, everybody, here shortly, we will be, we'll have a website up.
Yeah, we'll be bringing out some merch.
Yep. And our first set of merchandise here are these hats. We have the Ridgeline Hunting hat right here. This one's in gray. We have black and olive. So be looking for these. These will retail right around $30, plus tax and shipping. But yeah, it's a nice patch hat, a Richardson trucker hat. So yeah, be looking for the website here soon, and yeah, we'll have some merch up. We can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, if you see something you like, get it.
Yeah, definitely. And then the more that we can actually start selling, we'll start bringing on some more stuff. So once we start rolling these hats out, we're going to try to get shirts. And then once the shirts start rolling out, we're going to try to get hoodies. And then whoever else, we don't know what else we're going to bring out. Maybe some koozies, to keep the blue mountains blue. Yeah. So, we might have some of that. So, yeah, be looking out for the website coming out soon. I hope to have a website rolling before June 1st is the goal. I'm hoping to have it something before that, but we'll see. Just, I don't know what it's going to cost. So
yeah,
that's kind of like the first thing. So
we're not retiring on this right now. This is not like this is something we do. We're passionate about the outdoors. We appreciate everybody's support. The last 2 years have been, well,
kind of surreal, kind of weird
to think that it's been 2 years. The last 2 years has been a big learning experience.
Yeah, definitely.
We've done a lot of things, and people have been surprised that we're not selling any merchandise at trade shows.
Yeah,
we're just there chit chatting with people. This year we did a bunch of live podcasts from the show. And people started telling us, why don't you have some merchandise? Why don't you have hats? Why don't you have shirts? And truthful. The truth about it is that we never wanted to become a company that was just selling merchandise for the heck of it. It wasn't like a buy something from us so we can make money on it. But at this point, I feel like we can move forward, and Dave and I are comfortable with what we're doing. But this is something we really enjoy to do.
Yeah, this wasn't necessarily something that we thought we were going to even get to. We were just doing a podcast to talk about our adventures outdoors, and maybe somebody would learn something from it, and that's all that was. So then we started doing a couple trade shows, and there was a lot of people out there that really like what we're putting out, and are asking for merchandise that we didn't have at the time. So right now we're going to be rolling out hats, and we're going to be rolling out more as the time goes on. And people that are listening and watching, thank you, because we never would have thought we would have been at this position to where we could do something like this. So we would like to thank everybody that watches and listens to the podcast and watches our videos. Thank you very much, because we wouldn't be doing this without your guys' feedback and support. So thank you. This is starting to be like a dream come true. This is something that we have been passionate about for a long time. And yeah, now it's time to start capitalizing, moving forward, and, start producing more stuff that people want to listen to and watch.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it's good, man. All that stuff's true. Thank you all for the encouragement. That's been my biggest takeaway, is that the support from the community, the encouragement, and the receptiveness.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely been an awesome 2 years at this point, and now we're ready moving forward. We'll give you guys the information. We're going to get the website up and running. And thank you for watching again. We'll see you on the next one.
Good night.